estate. Real estate is simple. Real estate investing is simple. It's just not fucking easy.
That's why it's great to have a great perspective.
A lot of people are asking me, hey, can you split the deposits? Can you pay in different things? I always wait for the notification, but it's been having a delay, a little bit of a delay.
Oh, baby, we're live. It's Friday.
Oh,
Happy Friday, Facebook.
Was that the we're live, or was that the girl texting me?
No, we're live. We're legit.
All right. Oh, we are live. All right, guys. So yeah, we just did a whole fucking intro and everything.
We have an attendee.
Not even knowing that we are live. Anyway, whatever. That is Cashflow Kris. I am Cashflow Creator. We are the AZ Flip Guys. We're just two ordinary guys doing extraordinary things, talking about real estate mindset and everything in between. Guys, we are super excited today because we're talking about one of our favorite fucking subjects, cash flow. It's in our fucking name. If you guys aren't following Cashflow Kris, make sure you're following him on Instagram at Cashflow Kris, Kris with a K. And if you haven't followed me yet at Cashflow Creator, make sure that you're following Cashflow Creator. So guys, as I said, we are the AZ Flip Guys. Welcome to Flipping Fridays. We are excited to be here. We've had a lot of amazing things go on today. Just today, I got hit up by my mentor, who I've been waiting to hear back for a while because he's going to determine whether I end up in the Philippines or in Brazil. We'll see how it goes.
Tough decisions.
Tough decisions.
For your birthday, right?
For my birthday, of course. My birthday is May 7th. For those of you guys that are curious, for all the women, before you start asking, that means that I'm a fucking Taurus. And y'all know more about that. What the fuck that means?
like a Ford Taurus. He's like
a bull Taurus.
He's a beater.
Like a hard-headed fucking bull Taurus.
He's a shitty Ford Taurus. Like,
oh my
that's
god,
not good. What is a Taurus? A bull?
A Taurus is a bull. Yeah,
right. That's more like it.
So we got Ryan Harper here saying what's up. We got Gray Cook saying what's up. We got Ryan Carper saying so jealous of your top fan badges. hey, when you do it like us, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, Ryan wants to know. He's like, how did you get that? Hey, man, Facebook contacts us. We don't contact anybody.
Exactly. And when you're dropping straight fire like this week after week after week, Facebook wants to be like, hey, here you go, brother. You good. Plus, you already know. If you haven't known, man, they call me King Midas because I got the goddamn golden touch. Whatever we do, boom. It is automatically working. We got Armando Gloria saying, good afternoon, fellas. Hey. We got I am Sam. Oh, I like that name. Hey, what's up, guy? How you doing? Is she, you know what? She's from the Kingdom Group. We got David Rico in the house. We got Chris Underwood. We got Propelio. Oh shit, we got RJ Bates in the house. Oh, man, RJ Bates was asking. Actually, Brandon, there you go. Perfect timing. RJ Bates was just asking about you. He is like, where is Brandon Richards?
Jordan figured out.
Philippines. He is suggesting that I go to the Philippines. You know what, man? I'm really leaning towards that way. The only reason why I wouldn't end up in the Philippines is if my mentor reaches out and says, hey, man, I want to spend some time with you in Brazil. Man, I can't say no to that guy. And I've never been to Brazil. And I like black women. So it's like, damn, it's an all-inclusive trip for me. I get to do some personal development. I get to do some traveling, get to look at some booties. Hang out with a
millionaire who also enjoys the booties.
Yeah.
It's a gangsta's paradise. That should be our intro song.
RJ Bates saying, there's the beard. Yeah, buddy. Woo. Yeah, you see, and Brandon's got that clean cut beard. He's got that. He's got that. Exactly. I got that. Yeah. RJ's got that long mountain man beard. So beard gang, stick together.
I'm half white, half Mexican. I got nothing.
Ryan Harper says Facebook has no love for us. He's like, Brian, touch me. All right, guys. So today I am super excited for you guys that have been following us and the AZ Flip Guys. You know that I've been speaking at a lot of different events. If you guys follow me on my social media at Cashflow Creator, then you've seen that I've actually been speaking at a lot of different events. One of the events that I spoke at was the Kingdom Connect over in Dallas, which is where I met Brandon. Brandon, are you with us?
He is?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, you know what? I should turn on my speakers, though.
Can we hear him?
There he is.
All right.
What's up, buddy?
There we go.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Right. There we go. We had you on fucking mute.
I know, man.
Guys, this is the awesome thing about the AZ Flip Guys and Flipping Fridays, that we do a live show and we give it to you guys exactly how it is. So sometimes you see the blooper, sometimes you see us fuck up, sometimes you see us come in late. Actually, Brandon, why don't you tell people why you were late?
I was out back. I live on an acre, and I fly remote control airplanes, and I was flying around the backyard, and the septic turned on right when I was in the middle of it, and I got sprayed. So I had to go inside, take a shower real quick.
So for y'all that don't understand what he said, he was covered in shit.
Shit water. It's clean septic water, but I smelled it. I was like, oh, God, I think I take a shower now.
So, yeah, he messaged us. He's like, hey, guys, I'm going to be a little bit late. And we're like, obviously, we understand.
No.
Dude, you threw the live thing on me anyways. I had no idea it was going to be live.
Yeah. Well, oh, man, you didn't know this is a live show. We do it. And actually, speaking of live show, we have our guest from last week, Miss Elizabeth Navarrete, saying, hey, guys, hey, Elizabeth, hey, don't forget to text me so we can set up our shit for the other show. Anyway, guys, it's good to have you here. And this is one of the great things about the AZ Flip Guys Flipping Friday is that you get to join us live. So you're in the audience. You can talk shit. You can ask questions. You can make jokes. You can troll us like we had our first fucking troll last week. Man, bro, Brandon, we had a fucking troll, and then this troll brought his troll friends. And before it was like 3 or 4 people trolling us, talking about a couch that was for auction or something like that. It was awesome. I've never had a fucking troll before. So
yeah. Bring on the trolling. Bring it on.
Yeah, man. You know when you've arrived, when you got haters. But, you know, people can get haters, and, like, people can just hate and throw some shade and whatever. But a troll literally goes out of their way. He says, I'm going to go watch your shit. I'm going to sit there just to talk shit, and I got nothing better to do to try to irritate you. Like, you know you've arrived when you come there. So we got I Am Sam, who says, I'm Farron's mom. Oh, shit. Nice to join you. Your daughter is fucking amazing, by the way. You have an incredible human being. We got, let me see. Elizabeth says she'll text me. Josh was here, just one troll, first one. Yeah, exactly. Well, as I said, we ended up with it started with 1, but we ended up with 4 trolls towards the end of the show, which is great. And now, hopefully, trolls and groupies, man, ain't that the fucking truth? All right, guys. So if you guys are joining us in a watch party, make sure that you put your information, make sure that you put your questions on the watch party. As you guys know, it doesn't transfer over into the main thread, but we will answer the questions and stuff in the watch party. If you guys are watching this on a replay, if you guys are catching us on Facebook Live on a replay, if you guys are catching us on on YouTube, if you guys are catching this on a podcast, if you guys are watching us here and watching downloaded the goddamn podcast, I just got all messed up. If you guys are checking us out on iTunes, make sure that you download the podcast. Make sure that you give us a 5-star review, and make sure that you share this with your friends, because just like always, we don't sell anything. We don't pitch anything. We just provide you with valuable information. However, if you are joining us on a replay or you are hearing us on a podcast, make sure that you join us live every single Friday, noon Arizona time, facebook.com/AZ Flip Guys, where we will actually be joining us live. So you can ask questions from Cashflow Chris. You can ask questions from myself. You can ask questions from our special guest. And if you guys do happen to be watching us on a replay and you have any questions, make sure you put your questions in the comments, and we'll go back at some point and we'll answer them. So we got Greg Cook here saying network. Oh, my God, yes. So let's get into our guest. Now, as I said, I met Brandon here. We were Facebook friends, but, you know, a lot of times you become Facebook friends with people because you do things in common. You have friends in common. I didn't really know him like that, but we were speaking both at the same event over at the Kingdom Connect. Now, his speech was a little bit different in the sense that he got up there with his girlfriend, now fiance. Talk about that here in a second. Lock it up. You know, he was talking about just working as a couple. And I know that there was a young couple that I met. The kid was a videographer and stuff. And I know for a fact, because I had a chance to talk with him and his girlfriend, that they got a lot of really value from there, just learning how to work as a couple. And that's one of these things where, you know, we're very adamant here with the AZ Flip guys that if you are going to be in the business, make sure that you have the support of your spouse. Now, sometimes your spouse may not want to be in the business, like in your case, your soon-to-be spouse is, but as long as they support you, like Cashflow Kris, his wife could really give two shits about real estate at all. Like, just really
bring home the money.
Really just fucking make sure you pay the bills. But she also supports him though. Yeah. She also says, hey man, I understand that you have to go out on trips. I understand that you're out on meeting. I understand that you're networking. I understand that you're meeting up with investors. So it makes it a whole lot easier. Nonetheless, though, that's where I met Brandon. I got a chance to watch about half of your thing because I was outside getting ready for my thing, which I got to speak right after you. But I did catch some of it, man, and I did really enjoy what I had to hear. So Brandon, before you introduce yourself, for y'all that don't know, this motherfucker took his fucking girlfriend to her town over where her last name was lineage from, which is Murphy, which is a very common Irish last name. And then he took her to in front of this fucking castle, like a real life castle, to propose. So yeah, for all you motherfuckers thinking of fucking proposing now,
got a one up.
Ruined it for all of us.
Ruined it for all of us, brother. So Brandon, why don't you let people know who you are? Why don't you let people know a little bit about what it is that you're currently doing, and then we'll backtrack as to how you got started into the business.
Yeah, Brandon, out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, and I'm a single-family wholesaler flipper, and recently shut down a lot of my marketing, single-family to go commercial. My number one goal is to provide freedom and passive income for my family. But freedom's the name of the game. That's what I want. And so that's what I'm pursuing.
Perfect. And you know what? At the end of the day, most people really, really just want freedom.
Yep.
One of the things that I talk about all the time is that you see all these people, especially at these events, when you go to these events and you go to the networking events and you hear the speakers, everybody's just trying to get big. Like nobody really thinks about the cost that comes with it. They just think about, well, if I scale my company up, then that means I'm going to make more money.
Yep.
They're not looking at it from a freedom standpoint. And that's one of the things that really I resonated a lot with the Kingdom because in that particular group, they're more focused on freedom than it is on actual money and becoming a millionaire.
Yep.
Now, if you focus on freedom, especially in real estate, at some point you are going to be a millionaire. It's just a, you know, given enough time. But you said that you were flipping houses. So how did you get into the business? How long have you been into the business?
About 2 years is from my first flip. But I did spend, I don't know, roughly 6-8 months. What do they call that? Analysis paralysis. I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I was too scared to pull the trigger. So it took me about 8 months before I finally contracted my first wholesale. But I started out as I just moved to Texas in December 2016, all year. I was a no-name realtor trying to figure out how to make money in real estate. And then I learned about wholesaling in about mid 2016 and then February 2017.
So you were making a living from being a realtor before?
I wouldn't call it that. I mean, I was a realtor, but 2016, I made about $9,600 all year.
So how were you feeding your family then?
I wasn't. Fortunately, Ashley had a full-time job as a teacher, and she was supporting all of us.
Okay. So, and guys, this is what we talk about. Get somebody that supports you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure the journey of entrepreneurship is hard enough as is. And I could only imagine that if she wasn't supporting you, how much harder that process would have been.
Oh, yeah.
And I say this all the time, like having kids, having a family does not make this business impossible. It just makes it a lot harder. And the one particular part that makes it a lot harder is when you have a spouse that, you know, boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife that doesn't support what it is that you do. So she said, hey, baby, I understand that you want to get into real estate. You said, let me try it out. Let me get started as a realtor, which is what most people do. What were you doing before you decided to get into real estate, though?
So December 25th or 2015, I moved out to Texas, but I moved from Northern Arizona where I owned a carpet cleaning company. It was a franchise. So I ran that company for 4 years, and then got a divorce and moved out to Texas where I grew up and brought the kids with me. So starting fresh, but real estate's always been on my mind.
So you sold that company, or you just decided to hand it off to somebody, or?
Well, I handed it off. So hired a technician, got a phone answering service, call service, and it ran on its own I just sold it last year to my tech. So it ran on its own for about 2 years.
Nice.
And it was always one of those things is, when am I going to get a phone call and the van's not working, or we burned down a house, or we ruined the couch or something. So I sold it to my tech. And now he's running it. So
Good. And guys, you see, that's one of the great things about entrepreneurship in general. Real estate is entrepreneurship. Honestly, the majority, even in the basic ends, meaning like a realtor or a loan officer, it's still entrepreneurship. You know, you're still working for yourself. Nobody's guaranteeing you any type of work. Right. But through entrepreneurship, you can build a business, and that business can sustain you. Before you sold that, I'm assuming you were receiving some type of money coming in, some type of cash flow, because you were.
Man, I wish.
At that point.
I wish. Actually, the business made money when I was owner operator, but not much. I think I was netting on a good year like 65, 70,000. But by the time I moved out, had to house the equipment, I had to bring in the call service, had to pay him workman's comp. There was a few months where I was out of pocket. So it was a dying company being out of state. So
that hurts my heart to hear. So you decided that, hey, you know what? I just got a divorce. I'm going to move out. I'm moving to Texas. I got my kids with me, and I'm going to start fresh.
Right.
Let me try this real estate thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some friends back in Arizona that were realtors, and they had built big teams or a brokerage, and they're doing good. So it's like, I can do that. It's pretty easy. But being a realtor is
Here's what I always say about real estate. Real estate is simple. Real estate investing is simple. It's just not fucking easy. Like being a realtor is simple. Hey, motherfucker, you need to sell your house. I'll list it for you, and you pay me a commission for selling it. That's simple, but it's not easy. So you said, hey, man, I can do that shit. Let me go do this myself. We got Kim Brophy joining us here in the watch party saying hello all. Hey, Kim, thank you for joining us. We got Joe Quintano. We got Randy Matthew. We got George. We got Randy Matthew here saying party time, ready to grow. Yes, sir. So you decided that you were going to get into real estate. Your first year just didn't go that well, which honestly happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you hear these gurus and they talk about, hey, man, this guy had no experience. He put out these mailers. He got a fucking deal. And all of a sudden his life changed. But the reality is.
That was the guy I talked to after I talked to Brandon at that networking event. Right? Amir, that guy hit a $2 million deal.
Yeah, right off the bat. But the reality is that that's not common. That's not the way that it really works. And the majority of the time, if you don't struggle to make it, you don't even appreciate it when you're there. When money's just coming in right off the bat, you don't even appreciate the journey that you're supposed to go. So you decided to go from a realtor to, hey, you know what? Let me look into this real estate investing side of things.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned that you had an analysis paralysis and you kind of waited about 8 or 9 months before you decided to pull your trigger on one of these deals that you were looking at.
Yeah.
Now, did you decide to get straight into fixing and flipping, or did you do any wholesaling?
Wholesaling was first. Surviving off Ashley's teacher salary and my measly $9,600 for the year. We had no money, had no credit. And so the first few deals were definitely wholesales. My first straight or direct to seller wholesale was a home run for me. So I was able to pay off a lot of debt and provide enough funds to get a hard money on the next deal I contracted. So I went into flipping pretty quickly. But it was a little bit of luck of the draw. I just hit a home run, made over 40,000 my first wholesale, and paid off all my debt.
Nice. And that's a great thing with real estate investing. And that's one of the things that I always tell anybody who wants to get into the business. A lot of people say, hey man, how do I get into investing? Start by wholesaling. Wholesaling requires the least amount of risk. Wholesaling requires the least amount of experience. Wholesaling requires the least amount of money out of your pocket. So that it's just a great way. And you said that, from your first deal, you were able to get a $40,000 deal. That's awesome. Then now you were able to pay off the debt that you had and start looking at things differently. And, I was actually listening to, the Joe Rogan show, and he had this guy on here who was talking about debt. And basically he was talking about some other political shit, but he was talking about debt and how that affects the mind, and how studies have shown that your IQ drops 13 points, which is a lot, if you are focusing on paying your bills, if you are stressed out about paying your bills.
Yeah.
That means that you automatically are making worse decisions. You're a lot less happy. You're a lot more prone to do stupid things that are just kind of out of desperation.
Yeah.
But being able to do that deal and get out of that hole must have felt really, really good for you, right?
Yeah. Well, it was enough as a man, knowing that my girl was supporting me and my kids. And so being able to bring in that big boy check, finally, it felt pretty good. Paying off some debt, paying off my debt, a little bit of her debt. It felt good for sure.
Well, and it's a validation of, hey, these last 2 years that I didn't really make anything, I was preparing to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And the thing is once you knock out a check like this, you now know that you have the ability to knock out another check like this.
Right.
Whether you get it or not, you have the ability, which is why I always tell people, and I'm going to tell you, the audience right now, anybody watching, anybody listening, if you want to get into the business, be careful what the fuck you wish for. Because the only thing worse than struggling and not getting a deal is getting 1 or 2 deals, leaving the business and never coming back, because it's going to fuck with you the rest of your life, knowing goddamn well that you have the ability to make $20, $30, $40, $50,000 checks, but you're working at some fucking job that you hate because you don't have the balls to fucking make that jump.
Yeah.
Like, don't start the fucking goddamn journey if you're not going to fucking go through with it, because you're going to fuck yourself in the head a lot worse than just not making it, man. That, because if you never try it, then you could be like, not for me. It wasn't going to work anyway. Like, I don't know, maybe. But if you do it and you're like, fuck, I know that it's done now. And now, man, I have to go back to corporate America. I mean, and I understand you. I remember being broke as fuck. I remember getting started in entrepreneurship. I remember getting my kids. So my 2 kids came to visit me for the summer, and I had no money. I had no clothes for them. Dude, they literally, I remember them walking around the house with fucking my white T-shirts. And that was their clothes, and that was their PJs and shit. And I felt so bad that year. That really motivated me to not have that repeat itself again. So Speaking of amazing women, we got your soon-to-be wife, Miss Ashley Murphy, in the house here.
Is she on there?
I'm Ashley. Hey, Ashley, thank you for joining us here. Congratulations on the engagement. I don't know how the fuck else you could have asked for anything more than the way that this motherfucker did it. Tracking down the lineage of your last name, taking you to the fucking town, going in front of a fucking castle and proposing, like, oh my God.
Apparently hiring a photographer at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So we got some more people here in the watch party. We got Rich Lopez says his first year as a realtor sucked, but he stayed persistent. Shout out to that EXP logo in the background. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, why don't you give us a little background? You're obviously got your own podcast. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my podcast is called The Fearless Pursuit of Freedom. And my mind is always racing anything entrepreneurship, not just real estate, anything. So I've had on life coaches, business coaches, big ministry owners, all kinds of people. Because I feel like anybody that's working for themselves as an entrepreneur is got that freedom in the back of their mind, you know, whatever that means to them. So, and you know, I spend every day of my life in that pursuit. So named it that.
Nobody fucking started entrepreneurship and said, hey, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to risk everything that I have to become a fucking slave. Like the only reason why people do that is they were looking for freedom.
Fearless pursuit of freedom.
Yep. You have what fucking Michael Gerber calls the entrepreneurial seizure. They said, you know, they were a technician. They said, I fuck my fucking boss, man. I can do this shit myself. Fuck that motherfucker. I'm tired of being overlooked. I'm tired of being skipped for that goddamn fucking raise. I'm tired of this motherfucker not listening to my fucking instructions. Like, I'm going to go do this shit myself. Now, they did that for freedom. Yep. They wanted to give freedom. However, what happens is that when entrepreneurs get into entrepreneurship and they don't have systems in place, then eventually they fall into the trap that you were back with your old company, which is if I'm not there actually owning and operating this bitch, then I'm not making any money. And guess what? Now I'm a slave, not to my boss, but I'm a slave to all my fucking clients.
Exactly.
Not where you want to put yourself. And that's why I'm a big, big, big believer in the book, The E-Myth, because it basically talks about business systems and how to create the system so the systems can run your business and you can enjoy and fucking spend, I don't know, were you guys out there for like 2 weeks or so, right? You guys were out there for a while.
It's like 12 or 14 days. I forget.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks. There you go.
Yeah. So
being able to spend 2 weeks in fucking Ireland, hanging out with your beautiful girlfriend, finding the perfect way to propose. Ashley says it was pretty smooth. So co-signing. We got Dustin Winchell who says, nice shirt, Brian. Fuck yeah. For all my DBC nerd fans, y'all check this shit out. I got this shit at Comic-Con, by the way. So this is not official DBZ, but I just love the concept behind it and the whole evolution as you go up. So we got Alma Flores here. Thank you, Alma. We got Elizabeth saying so true. We got Giovanni Rodriguez saying amen, brother. So guys, so you started and you moved in from wholesaling. You did a few wholesale deals. Eventually you had enough money to move you into fixing and flipping. And you said you moved into fixing and flipping fairly quickly. So how many wholesale deals did you do before you moved into fixing and flipping?
One. Right. So one direct to seller. I did like 2 or 3 as a, I don't know, quote unquote JV wholesale.
Yeah, that's still a wholesale deal.
Yeah. Where a partner or a friend found the deal, I found the buyer, or I found the deal and they found the buyer, something like that. But
dude, that's how I ran my first fucking wholesale business for 4 or 5 years straight.
Really?
Did no marketing whatsoever. I did this shit. I did, hello, you got a deal? Hello, you have a you need a deal?
Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah.
There you go. And the funny thing is there was this one time where I literally did this shit, you know? I fucking, okay, you got a deal? Yeah, I got somebody. Hey, man, you want a deal? Perfect. Boom, boom. My fucking seller calls me the next day and he's like, dude, did you fucking sell this deal to Mike? And I'm like, yeah, of course. He's like, oh, I didn't know you know Mike. He was the next phone call I was going to make. I made $7,500 that time just by flipping the phone and connecting people together. So you did a few wholesale deals and then you decided to move into fixing and flipping.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how did your first flip go? How was that? How did that go for you?
Not the way it was supposed to, you know. So, I mean, it ran all the typical things: contractors running out, contractors taking money. But I made the bad decision to do most of the work ourselves. So me and Ashley were in that house.
Oh my god!
Every single day.
All right, hold time the fuck out. Time the fuck out. Right. This is what happens when you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Now, don't feel bad, Brandon, because guess who did the exact same thing? This guy,
everybody, right almost all flippers. Yeah,
creator. Yeah. I had seen the shows. I was like, I'm gonna be in there. I'm gonna be painting. I'm gonna be landscaping, dude. I saw Home Depot more than I saw my fucking house for those fucking 4 or 5 months, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
I went down. I pulled the permits with the city because I wanted to be part of all this fucking shit. It was the worst fucking thing that I could have done. Absolutely the worst thing that I could have done. And I've shared this story many times, but I basically ran out of money. So in order to pay my bills, I needed to wholesale a deal because I had ran out of money. I ended up wholesaling the deal to another investor friend of mine, and he just happened to throw it out there like, hey, this is going to be my 15th flip at one time. And I was like, dude, how do you do that? And he's like, get the fuck out of the fucking house. You only got 2 jobs. Line up the money, line up the fucking property. Everything else you can hire out. And that's something that you had to find out the hard way. Now, if I would have just got the fuck out of the way and let my contractor do what he would have done, the property would have cost about $10,000 less in repairs. It would have been done about 2 or 3 months before we got it done, which means that it would have been in the hot period to sell, and it probably would have sold for an additional $30,000 to $40,000 than what it actually sold, because I had to drop it just to sell it at that point.
Yeah.
It was a shit ton of money, a shit ton of time, a shit ton of fucking headache that I added to myself because I wanted to do it all myself. And I pause this and I make a point because I know there's a lot of people in there that want to get into the fixing and flipping game. And every fucking time, bro, it's a fucking guaranteed answer. A guy says, hey, man, I want to get into flipping. All right. Yeah, I want to get into flipping because I know how to do tile. I know how to lay drywall. I can save some money on the painting. And then a woman says, hey, man, I want to get into flipping because I know the colors that match. I know how to design the price to make it all the fucking time.
Yeah.
When I was flipping 15 houses at a time, I wasn't choosing shit. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I wasn't choosing colors. I wasn't choosing palettes. I wasn't doing nothing. Hey, motherfucker, make it look nice. Here's the price point. Make it look just like the other one. Make it look like just like the rest of them.
Exactly.
Yep.
You didn't even have to think about it. So you did the first one. You spend a lot of time, money, effort. I'm assuming, did you even make money on that one?
Yeah, we did. We ended up making about 26 or 27,000 or something.
Nice. Good. So even after all the problems that you had, even after all the bullshit, you still were able to make a profit. Now, what did you do moving forward? Now your second one, did you go and do the shit yourself?
The second flip that I did my own, we did not. But the turning point for me was, as I was renovating that first one, I got another deal under contract. And when I went to a buddy to go get some money, he says, I ain't going to give you money. You're pretty over leveraged over here. But what I'll do is I'll 50-50 JV with you. I'll do all the work. We'll just split the profits at the end. And I was like, done. Game over.
Yeah.
The light bulb.
Shit, you can do that?
Yeah.
Man,
great.
What made it more important?
What happened then?
Yeah, it's what happened. So the pivotal moment for me was he saw the house twice. He viewed it before to make sure I wasn't making mistakes in my numbers. And I forget why he came out a second time, but he went to the house twice in 2 months. And I was like, oh, well, this is how it's supposed to be done. He's got a manager running out here, making sure all the contractors are doing what they're supposed to do, and it's on schedule. And he never saw the property but twice. And we split $50,000. And I was like, well, duh, why ain't I doing it that way? So that's when contractors and everything started coming in.
And that was where my light bulb opened up. Because when I went to go meet with this investor, the guy that said, hey, I'm doing 15 flips, I actually met him at one of his flips. So he was just over there. And basically, I mean, he just broke it down for me. He's like, I just show up here in the beginning to see that the property is working. Then I pay my contractors this way. So every few weeks, I might stop by just to check on the process. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I check on the end to make sure that everybody did what they're supposed to.
Yep.
Eventually, once that clicked on me and I said, shit, I don't have to do this myself. I just have to line up the money and line up the deals, because that is really the essence of this business. There's so many people out there that would just be willing to fucking go out there and break their backs if you just give them work. And that's all they want. Like they don't want anything more. Shit. There's times where I've tried to bring people up and said, hey man, you've been working for me for a while. Let me show you. I don't know about all that. That seems too complicated. I'm cool where I'm at. Just keep on giving me work so I can feed my family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not everybody's an entrepreneur.
Nope, not everybody is an entrepreneur. So that's why I'm glad that you have the show that you have, because it's a great place for entrepreneurship in general, not just real estate. Here with the AZ Flip guys, we tend to concentrate a little bit more on real estate. And, when we first started, we were doing tons of flips. And that's why we called ourselves the AZ Flip guys. As time progressed, though, I wanted freedom. So even though I learned the same lesson that you did, and I said, you know what, now let me start putting contractors. So eventually I hired my first GC. And this guy had about 4 or 5 crews working for him. At some point, I tapped this motherfucker out because I wasn't his only client.
Yeah.
So then I had to hire a second GC who also had about 3 or 4 crews that he was particularly running.
Yep.
So now my only conversation was with my GCs. However, I still had to go look at the property initially. Then I had to sign the paperwork for the property. Then I had to go take a look at the property at least 2 times before they finish, just so we can give them the draws. And then at the end to finish, then meet up with the title company to do this again.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, that's not that much, but multiply that times 15 properties going on at one time. That became a fucking hassle. That became a job.
Exactly.
Now I was like, fuck, I have to go look at this one. Like the contractor's already, he's already been bugging me for 3 days about his draw. I have to go look at this one.
That's one of the things that we really ran across is because you want this massive success, right? You want to do these big numbers, but it's also, at one point I had like 15 guys on my crew and all these guys, but it's like, that's when I had to personally scale down. So how big did you get on your fix and flips? Like, or is that right now? Are you at your maximum?
Last December I had 4. Right now I was supposed to close on 1 today, but that would make for 3. But I've never, my number 1 goal is to never show up to the house like you said there, Brian. But I don't have any grand plan to be doing that many flips. I just simply, at the end of the day, I'm a hard worker, but I'm lazy. So I'm trying to figure out a way to work myself out of the business.
After 2 years, you figure that out. You know what I mean? It took me 15 years or 14 years to finally figure it out. I think you saw something in that. Was that the kingdom where you saw that kind of path, or what made you want the freedom and the passive income?
The freedom has always been there, but figuring out how to do it was a progression over about, I don't know, a year and a half. Well, it's about a year when I was full-time into it. I went to a cruise. It was an investor cruise down to the Caribbean. So when St. Kitts, St. Martin, and during the cruise, we would have classes down in one of the meeting rooms. And I remember a good buddy of mine, Connor Steinbrook, going up there and talking about VAs and how his VAs answer his Facebook messages, his emails, they vet his calls, his email, like how he's got, I think at the time he had 4 or 5, 6 VAs, and they basically managed his time, and he was able to get himself out of the business. And I was like, another light bulb, VAs. Mm-hmm. So now my VAs, my number, like I said, my number 1 thing is how do I get myself out of the business? I've already figured out that contractors are the way to get myself out of the house, but now how do I get myself from sending out these postcards, scrubbing these lists, pulling new lists, doing all these things. So now all day, I'll show you. Got a little computer over here. My VAs are down there every single day on that computer, pulling my list, scrubbing my stuff, going to TLO, skip tracing. They're sending out the postcards. They're sending the letters. They do all that for me. So that's been my number 1 goal is how do I stop working?
Nice. And as it should be, people, if you don't ask the right questions, you're never going to get the right fucking answers. Mm-hmm. Most people just assume that I have no choice but to just continue working.
Yeah.
However, if you ask the right questions, how do I stop working? Eventually, you're going to come down to 2 fucking answers. You're going to come down to systems, automation, or you're going to come down to passive income, yep. which is a product of systems and automations anyway.
All right.
So I was, like I said, we were doing a lot of flips, and it just became a job. Now, I never once did marketing and mailers. I just bought all my shit because I didn't want to deal with crap.
Yeah.
I didn't care because I was doing volume. So I wasn't trying to squeeze maximize every fucking flip.
Right.
I don't want to deal with the fucking seller. What's the deal? Nope, fuck you. I'm not going to pay that. Here's how much I can pay. Does that work? Yes or no? Because you know that I'm going to close. And look at all the fucking business that I got going on. So you know business or not. It just made it a lot easier. But getting everything, even though I had my contractors in place, there was still things that required my attention, and I didn't like that. So eventually I said, man, I need to get away from this shit because this is a fucking hamster wheel. It's just going over and over and over. Let's move into cash flow. Let's find ways to create passive income. And for you guys that don't know what passive income is money that comes to you without you physically having to work. And in order for you to reach freedom, in order for you to reach financial freedom, and financial freedom is just the ability to live the lifestyle that you desire without having to work or depend on anybody else for money. The only way that you do that is through passive income, unless you hit the lottery and you get some big old fucking chunk of change. But history has shown that most of those motherfuckers end up in worse positions than they're at.
Yeah.
Because they don't invest that money in cash flow.
Exactly.
You know, here's the thing, guys. You can have a bunch of fucking money. You can have a bunch of money in the bank. You can drive expensive cars. You can do all of that. However, you live on cash flow. Every single month you have monthly bills. You live on cash flow. And a lot of times people are very much more concerned as to racking up these big checks, getting the 30, 40, 50,000, 150, whatever, making all this fucking money. They never, ever once think about what's going to happen if the market shifts. What's going to happen if I get hurt? What happens if I get hit by a fucking bus? How do I make sure that my daughters, my sons, my wife still continue to eat?
Yep.
Bust-proof your life.
Exactly. How do you bust-proof your life?
Hey, we got John, Heather, Riley out there saying, hey, big money. Guys, we have an expert on here. Bring your questions. He knows wholesaling. He knows fix and flip. We're going to be talking about moving into commercial. We're going to be talking about cash flow.
I'm going to be, look, I'm rubbing my crystal ball for you guys that can't see it on the video. I'm rubbing my crystal ball. I'm about to make a prediction. We're going to have a dumbass bring a fucking question right at the end of the fucking show, right as we're signing off. That's been going on for the last 6 weeks.
Will it happen?
Every fucking week, man, we always go through this. Guys, bring your questions. Bring your questions. And you know when people bring their questions? Right at the fucking end. So anyway, we are going to be, if you guys got any questions about cash flow, moving into fixing and flipping. As I said, guys, fixing and flipping is sexy. Fixing and flipping is something that you can wrap your mind around because you see that shit on TV. Hey, I buy an ugly house. I put some money into it. I sell it for more money, and there's a big chunk of money for me on the back end. Oh, my God, that sounds awesome. However, nobody ever fucking thinks about cash flow. And the reason why is your programming, because you've been programmed to think that you have to trade your time for money. And even if you automate it, which once again, guys, there's a reason why banks have REOs. Banks, it's not like they don't have the money to turn around and fucking fix this bitch and sell it themselves. Banks know that that is not a scalable model. You cannot scale. You will reach a plateau at some point where you cannot automate this business 100% because there's just so many fucking variables. So most people are just thinking about fixing and flipping because it's the easiest, most relatable thing to a job. Hey, if I put in this time and this effort here, blah, 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 then I'm going to get this check on the back end. Nobody's thinking about how do I create passive income? How do I stop working? How can I enjoy traveling now? If I remember correctly, I believe it was you, Branding, that put a picture on your Instagram, on your Facebook, if it was today or yesterday, but it was an old couple that was traveling the gondola over in Venice, Venice, Italy.
Yeah.
They're fucking old as shit and they're passed out of the fucking in the front. And it says, exactly. Why you don't wait till you retire to travel.
Yes. Who wants to work till they're 60, man? That sounds miserable.
Dude, 40 and I'm out.
Don't know any other way. So guys, if you don't ask the right questions, you're never going to get the right answers. If you don't ask, hey, how can I make money without having to work every single fucking day, you're never going to get that answer. So we got John, Heather, Riley saying, and you pay people out of your cash flow to build even bigger or equities. Of course, hell yes. Yeah. There's a book that I love by a good friend of mine who we'll have on the show here at some point, Jack Bosch. If you guys you were thinking about that?
I was just talking with him on Twitter or on Instagram. We got to get him on the show.
Yeah. That guy's amazing. You know what? I'm fucking tired because I reached out to that motherfucker a few times. So I'm going to bypass him and I'm going to go to the boss.
Yes.
I'm going to text his wife. I'm going to go, hey, Michelle, let's get your motherfucking ass on the show and let him make it happen. So
maybe we'll let him on.
Maybe we'll let him on.
We'll let one Bosch in. Two, you have to see if he qualifies.
Anyway, Jack Bosch wrote a book called Forever Money. Is that the
Forever Cash? Forever
Cash. Okay, there
you go.
Amazing book. I wanted to make sure that I get it right. In the book, he draws out an analogy, and he says how you have a big old bathtub. And in this bathtub, you have a drain in the bottom, which are your bills, your monthly bills. So what you do is you focus on creating a faucet that's going to put water into your bathtub. Now, normally, initially, that's going to be your job. However, once you start learning how to create cash flow, then you can start building cash flow streams. Now, what you do is then you take these cash flow streams and you add them onto your tub. Now you're adding all these different cash flow streams to your tub, where you're bringing in more money coming in than the money's going out. And now you are known as financially free. That means that if you choose to fuck off for a whole month and just do absolutely nothing, guess what? There's still more money coming in at the end of that month. Yep. You're creating cash flow. And most people don't ever even think about that. Most people don't even think that that's a reality. Most people say, oh, no, you have to work hard for your money. You have to trade time for money. In that interview that I said that I was listening to with Joe Rogan, the guy was talking about, hey, you know, once you get to this point here in the future, in the next 20, 30 years, a lot of things are going to be automated. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. And because people are conditioned to think that I need to trade time for money, most people are going to suffer tremendously here in the very near future, because that's all they know. That's all they know how to think, is turning trading time in for money. So you decided that you were going to move into cash flow. You decided that you wanted to look into cash flow. How did that go about for you?
I think initially I knew I had to, but I didn't know how to get there. And I've got a lot of buddies that are in single family rentals, and there's pros and cons. There's capital raising issues. There's the 10 FHA deal, or Fannie Mae deal. In my mind, I wanted to scale faster, and how do I do that? And it came down to commercial assets. And what I mean by that is, okay, you want a single family rental. You either raising 100, 150,000, you're hoping to get $1,200 a month in rent, and your cash flow is like 300, 500 bucks, and great. But now you're out another loan, another private loan. By the time you get to out of the rat race, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 a month, whatever that number is, you're out of $3 million, $5 million in capital, where you can go buy a storage or a mobile park for 800, 1.2, 2 million, and raise private money, or bring in a JV partner, and you've got 8,000 cash flow out of one asset. And the economics of scale and what I call the snowball effect is just exponential. So that's what became appealing to me. And I wish I would have started sooner, at least in the marketing phase, in the learning phase, because it was one of those things, just like getting into real estate, wholesaling or flipping, it was scary. And now that I'm into it,
I believe that it's a natural progression.
Yeah.
You know, yes, you can jump into real estate right away with no experience and do a multifamily deal. Yes, you can jump into real estate with no experience whatsoever and buy a rental.
Yeah.
However, for the majority of people, especially the entrepreneurs, it's a gradual growing learning curve.
Right.
And learn, okay, man, there's the possibility to make money this way. There's possibility to do this. Oh shit, I can do it this way. I don't have to buy it. I can JV. I don't have to use my own money. I can use private money. I can use hard money. I can use all these different aspects where I'm creating win-win scenarios for everybody around me.
Yep.
All these different opportunities arise, and eventually you start coming across the realization that, you know what, flipping houses is an awesome job, but it's still a fucking job.
Yep.
And eventually you want to separate yourself from that. Eventually you want to create freedom. So you looked at some of the rentals that you can get for some of these houses, and you're like, wow, man, light bulb. Like and these people, this money is going to be coming in month after month after month after month after month,
Yep.
which is what I was drawn to. But here's the thing, and here's a problem why most people are drawn to flipping and not buying and holding right off the bat. You're gonna do wholesale a deal, and you're gonna make $20,000 to $40,000 if you get the right deal or whatever, or you buy and hold a property, and now you're cash flowing $300-400 a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to most people, that big chunk of money is a lot more appealing, because
Right.
they don't understand math, they don't understand the compound effect, and they really aren't thinking down the line.
Yep.
Why I'm a big fan of, I say it all the time, I love playing chess. I'm a strategic person. I'm always looking 5-6 moves down the line, because you know, yes, I was making a lot of money with flipping, but fuck, man, this is becoming annoying. God damn, what happens if the market slows down? What happens when the wholesalers, because I decided to stop flipping about 2 years ago. I noticed that wholesalers were getting ridiculous with what they were charging. What happened between 2 years ago and now, it's gotten even more ridiculous. I am so glad that I was looking further down the line and said, why do I want to continue down this rat race where I can focus on something else? So we got John Heather Riley here says, REO is bank scraps, feed me the scraps. Fuck yeah. And here's the thing, one man's trash is another man's treasure. However, the point that I was trying to make is that the reason why banks are not in the fixing and flipping business, which they could easily be, is because they know that that model is not scalable. And that's really the biggest thing. Plus also the difference between how much money they have available cash versus how much money they can lend. The more money they have tied up, the less money they can lend. And that's a whole different thing. But this business here, even though it's a viable business model, it's not a scalable business model. So we got Robin here who says you have whoa, we got questions coming in. Fuck yeah. So you got a 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. job, but you would like to start in real estate wholesaling, fix and flip. We are here to help you while you're busy. Here's what we can do. Cold calling. Perfect. Yeah, so basically right here, Robin VAs. Over here, they have some VAs. Yeah, we've seen different VA systems. And guys, this is what Brandon was talking about. He eventually was doing all this shit himself. He initially was doing everything himself and eventually said, you know what? Let me start finding ways to leverage because of your connections, because of networking, because of this other person that you saw that was doing it. You're like, fuck, dude, I could actually hire VAs. We can leverage VAs.
Yep.
And I know, like we, Cashflow Kris and myself, we had been talking about leveraging VAs for a while, and we just kept on pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. Once we hired our first VA, everything just completely fucking changed, man. Everything changed.
Yeah, you said you got quite a team. What size team do you have on the virtual side?
Actually, since the Kingdom Connect deal, I've dialed it down a smidge. At one point, I had 6 VAs. I got 2 working my podcast and 4 working the dailies. But I recently stopped in the past about 3 weeks, stopped marketing to foreclosures. So, it's 1 to 2 on the daily, depending on, at the beginning of the month, we scrub new lists, city code violations and water shut off. So they were on overtime at that point. So they bring in another lady to help. So for right now, it's basically 3. Again, leveraging my time. And if I can record it on a computer, I'm going to have them do it. That's all there is about it.
And the reason why people never systemize is because it requires them to jot everything down.
Yeah.
And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we just know what to do.
Yeah.
We don't know how to tell people what to do, especially the ones of us that are really, really good. And I always use the example of, you get like a Michael Jordan or a Wayne Gretzky. They were amazing, amazing athletes, horrible coaches.
Yeah,
because that shit came natural to them.
Well, yeah, they do it like this, man.
Yeah, it came natural to them. It wasn't able to coach that. So anyway, we got Angel Ramos here saying, "Hello, fellas. I'm new and never done a deal before. Do I have a chance in the LA area, or do I have to move the hell out of California?" Well, here's the
virtual wholesaling.
Yeah, got it. You can wholesale wherever the fuck you want, which he said virtual wholesaling. So you can live in California, you can live in LA and not wholesale in LA. However, with that being said, you can still wholesale in LA.
Why not?
It's just bigger prices, bigger numbers, but guess what? Bigger spreads too. So if you're wholesaling in Tennessee, where a property will retail for $50,000 and you're making a $5,000 wholesale fee, well, that's 10% of the fucking property's value right there.
Yep.
If you're wholesaling a property in California that's worth $500,000 and you're making a $5,000 fee, well, you're fucking at 1% now. Huge difference. So you can do it in your market. The only thing that makes it harder in California is the price points. And the only reason why that makes it harder is because it makes it seem harder in your head. So I'm assuming, Angel, that you're fucking, I got your last name, Ramos. You live in LA. I'm assuming that you probably don't come from money. To you, $1 million house is something that's just ridiculously fucking out of your range to even think about. Locking up, how am I going to go up to $1 million house, knock on their door and say, hey, I'm going to pay cash for your house? That to you is scary. So it doesn't make it impossible. It just makes it harder. That's why I'm so happy. Like, I grew up in LA, but we moved to Phoenix, and I'm so glad that we did, because when I started wholesaling, that was pretty much when the market was tanking and it bottomed out. So I was wholesaling $30,000 properties. That made it a lot more believable in my head than wholesaling $300,000 properties, $3 million properties.
Yeah.
However, those are all just numbers, and they're all just fucking made up anyway. So, Angel, you can definitely do it. You don't have to move out of LA. You don't have to move out of California. And as Brandon was saying, you can even do what's known as virtual wholesaling, meaning that you can buy and sell properties in markets that you don't even live in without you ever fucking having to look at them yourself and sell them to somebody else who is going to fix and flip them or do whatever the hell they're going to do with them.
Yeah. Well, I would say also, I think the origination of assignments of contract or wholesaling came from the commercial space, where the big players, the Trumps of the world, were trading their big. Have you read The Midas Touch by Trump?
No.
Nope.
Dude, he's wholesaled freaking hotels, skyscrapers. So I think it came from commercial, big dollar. It's just, yeah, you're making the connection between seller, asset, and buyer. And it doesn't matter what the prices are. If you know the buyer and you got a discounted asset, it doesn't have to be discounted, but you can pull off $1 million wholesale if you know the right people and you network properly.
Well, and I've mentioned before on the show, I mentioned the story about my mentor, Ed the Cuban guy, and he had done creative financing for the longest time on single family houses. He had an opportunity to do this on a development deal out in the Yucatan in Mexico. And he basically found some guy with the land. He didn't pay him for the land. He said, let's partner up. I'm planning on doing this. I'll pay you at the end when we sell. The guy said, yeah, I ain't doing shit with the land. Then he found a fucking builder who was willing to build and not take payment up front, but take payment on the back end through condos. So he was building like 150 condos or something, 2 high rises. And he said, hey, if you do the work for me, I'll give you these 8 condos, which are worth blah, 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 blah. If you finish it by this date, I'll throw in an extra 2 condos. And by the way, I'll show you how to create cash flow so you can fucking build money the rest of your fucking life. Then he fucking found a guy who owned resorts down in Cancun and said, hey, bro, we're about to start construction on these things. You know, you're already owning them. Would you like to buy them from me? And the guy pre-bought 90% of his fucking complex before they even broke ground.
Unreal.
That's just being this. That's the same shit. And I remember talking to him, and he was telling me how scared he was because that was the first time he had ever done anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
He had to remind himself that it was just more zeros, that he had already done that before, just not in that big of a scale. He had done that multiple times with houses, and let's do this and let's do that and let's negotiate this way or that way. So being creative allows you to create cash flow. Being creative allows you to do other things, particularly, like I said, virtual wholesale or do other things like that. We got Randy here in the watch party who's saying the solution is to find the very best real estate cash flow systems based on low-cost single-family homes. I provide permanent homes for nice families. Why waste all the effort on apartments that nobody really wants to live in? Bias much, Randy?
Yeah, a little bit.
First of all, Randy, shut the fuck up. I know you personally, and you don't do shit.
And our 90% occupancy states otherwise.
Yeah, and our 90% occupancy with the fucking waiting list states otherwise. Here's the thing that I'm going to say to all you motherfuckers just like Randy. All you motherfuckers out there who are like, oh, well, I only work with night houses. I only do a nice neighborhood. Motherfucker, you don't have to live there. I have no fucking desire whatsoever to go live in Hope, Arkansas. None what the fuck ever. But guess what? That motherfucker's creating cash flow. My tenants love our fucking place. They're not asking for me to lay down new tile. They're not asking for me to put granite on the fucking countertops. They're not saying, oh, well, this microwave is not stainless steel, so I'm going to go somewhere else. Fuck you. They want a good place to go. They want a place where the electricity works, the air conditioning works, the water works, and they want a place where it's affordable. So maybe your jackass wouldn't fucking live there, because I know sure as fuck that I wouldn't fucking live there. However, that doesn't mean that it's not a bad deal. Now, there's some people that like doing single family, which is where most people go to. but the natural progression usually leads to multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, all right, you talked about this, Brandon. Hey, man, I saw this opportunity. I can create cash flow over here. I'm going to make $300 with this one house. Okay,
Yep.
that's just $300. Now I got to go do it again and another $300. And now I'm going to do it again, another $300. Where you could have just bought a building with 20, 30 of these motherfuckers right on there and cash flowed your thing that much higher.
Exactly.
And guys, that is being creative. And I say this all the time. It doesn't take money to make money. It takes creativity to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And if it takes money to make money, it doesn't have to be your money. But one of the things that you should be focusing on is creating cash flow. So how many properties do you currently own now that are holding for cash flow purposes?
I don't have any. Single family hasn't been a desire of mine from the get-go for a multitude of reasons. Primarily, again, it goes back to freedom. It's going to take about 10 to 15 properties before property management makes sense. And I didn't want to deal with the headache building that. So I leaned towards storage facilities. And so this week alone, I've viewed 3 of them. And what I like about commercial is the creativity. You can get very creative in single family, but the typical commercial asset owner is willing to entertain other creative types of financing.
Now, are you talking about commercial residential or commercial
like storage
retail?
facilities?
Storage,
right?
mobile home parks, apartments, retail strips, but I don't have any desire in that. Mini warehouses, stuff like that.
Now, Brandon, so when we talked, you said that you're getting into a contact, you switched your marketing from the residential to the commercial. You kind of turned off that pipeline a little bit.
Yeah.
You said you were getting in touch with a lot of these owner operators.
Yeah.
As you're doing your negotiations, what are some things that we can look for? What do they want? Are they looking for all cash? Are they looking to get creative? What kind of things are you seeing when you're negotiating with them?
I think it has a huge bearing on where they are in their life. The older sellers typically want the cash because they're retirement age. I see the ones around 50 entertaining the owner finance idea, and the younger ones are still in a growth phase and they want the cash. So it's a variable, but at the end of the day, most of them aren't going to have an asking price. They got a cold mail piece. They weren't expecting it. They weren't listed. And so it's up to me to determine or put it in their face, the options, if they hadn't thought about it in the past either. So my marketing piece does reference owner finance from the get-go. So it's a little precursor that I'm probably going to ask about it.
Well, and you said something about a minute or two ago that I really agree with, which is when you move into the commercial field, they're a lot more likely to be open to seller financing or some type of creative financing. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of these times, these people are a lot more sophisticated when it comes to money, real estate, or financing in general.
Right.
You're dealing with the single family seller and you're dealing with Mrs. Jones, who's fucking 65 years old, only bought one house in her life, only dealt with 1 or 2 fucking loan officers her whole fucking life, doesn't know what a note is, doesn't understand concepts of interest, compound, whatever. All of a sudden, the only alternative that makes sense to her is cash. Yep. Where if you deal with somebody on the commercial side of things, they understand creative. Mm-hmm. And, we own apartment complexes. That's something that Cashflow, Kris, and myself do, is we buy apartment complexes. And 2 out of my 3 apartment complexes have been seller finance. 2 out of the 3 apartment complexes, the seller said, hey, why don't we work this out? Can we do this? I know they wanted more than I was willing to pay cash. I'm willing to bump up if you do it seller financing, if you carry something, if you let me come in this way or whichever way it was. And it worked out awesome. Our deal that we're currently working on right now, the guy, we looked it up on tax record. This motherfucker bought it for $350 about 3-4 years ago. He sold it to us for $850 with $300,000 down. He's about to make pretty much all his money back in one pop. Yep. Then we're going to pay him off for the next 5 years. We're going to pay, and it's going to balloon, whatever, right? And he just gets interest only on his money until we refinance or whatever the hell we do with that particular property.
Yeah.
Now, this guy, because he's done this so much, he understands seller financing. When I said, hey, man, would you be open to seller financing? He said, yeah, absolutely. He was already a lot more in tune with that. So you realize that and you put that into your marketing pieces.
Yep.
You kind of precursor them and say, hey, we're gonna do this. And I do this shit all the time with my dates, like all the fucking time. Like, hey, you know, we're gonna hang out and then we're gonna go back to my place and chill. But let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about the date. Let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about some shit, right? I'm just putting it out there. I'm just letting you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they bought the place for cash flow, so why wouldn't they want cash flow without the potential headaches of owning the asset?
Yes. And yeah, and as you mentioned, as long as they don't need that money to move into another deal, then more than likely they're going to be open to the possibility. All right, give me some money now and then continue making payments because, hey, I'll go from, you know, this particular building was making me $10,000 a month to making $2,000 a month on payments. And now I don't have to deal with any of the headaches and the hassle. And Brandon here already came in with a nice chunk of change up front anyway for the down payment.
Yeah, that's why when you're moving into a commercial space, you kind of want to, first of all, you want to know the lingo, you want to know the kind of words and phrases that they use, and then you want to know what's important for them. Like that single family lady, she lived there, so she has no tax ramifications, right? This other guy, he's probably depreciated the property down, you know, he's going to have a big tax bill. He might not even know that. So when you can educate your sellers appropriately, you know, that's when you're going to go in and get the best
once again,
deals.
your sellers, usually in the commercial realm, they're a lot more sophisticated. So Brandon basically recognized the same thing that we do. Because I only bought two single families, and I was like, fuck this shit. This is gonna take forever. Fuck
I don't want any part of that.
I don't want any part of that whatsoever, right? And honestly, the first one I did it as a flip, but it didn't sell, so I had to keep it as a rental. It was cheap enough that it made sense as a rental. The second one was literally gifted to me, like literally just here, right on your lap. You don't even have to put it down. It ended up being nuts that I'm actually selling right now just to get rid of that shit. And it's a great deal. I mean, it's like 11 cap or whatever right now anyway.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is taxes. You know, flipping is incredibly high tax rate. You know, it's short-term capital gains. That's nearly freaking 40% of your income. And, you know, I've got nothing to depreciate. And what's cool about commercial is not only the depreciation schedule, but that's also in my marketing piece is if you don't want to pay capital gains on a cash sale, let's talk about owner finance to alleviate those gains. And you get the tax benefits of being the lender on the property too. So I put all those in my marketing piece, but just let them know that I know a little bit about commercial and I can help you with your tax problems and keep you with the cash flow that you initially bought the property for.
Nice. So we got Andy Veracruz saying greetings to all. God bless. We got Corey Thompson in the house. We got Felix Corral. We got Alma Flores saying this is straight fire. We got Alma Flores saying or mobile home parks. People who don't know run from it. Exactly. You know, people like Randy there who was saying his shit. That motherfucker, he's like, oh, well, man, mobile home parks, those are ugly. Why would I ever want to do that?
They're cash cows.
It's a fucking cash cow.
They're recession proof.
These people living in a mobile home park don't give a fuck that it's a mobile home park. They want somewhere where they can put their shit. They want somewhere where they can park their car. They want somewhere where they can lay their bed, where they can cook their food, where they can fuck their husband or wife. They want the same shit that everybody does.
What did you comment, Brandon?
Well,
it says recession.
Or recession proof.
Yeah.
And as economies shift, shit rolls downhill. So you can't afford your house, you go into an apartment or mobile home. Yeah, buddy. Mobile homes down there. So
and we talked about this. We saw this happen in the last downturn. So people went from losing a house to either losing a nice house and buying a not so nice house, or losing the house completely and then having to go rent a house. People went from being able to rent a house because their landlords weren't paying to now having to go rent an apartment. People are renting an apartment and now have to go rent a mobile home park. Like, it's just the natural progression because at the end of the day, people need somewhere to live. And this is the important part of this, guys. You don't have to live there. So if you're looking at a commercial piece of property, if you're looking at an apartment complex, if you're looking at a motel, if you're looking at a hotel, if you're looking at a mobile home park, whatever, you don't have to live there. Now, you don't want to buy something in a war zone either, but at the same time, it doesn't matter what's around. My very first apartment complex is in a small, sleepy border town called Douglas, Arizona. Fucking, there ain't shit in Douglas, Arizona. There ain't shit out there. But guess what? My apartments are filled. People are there. Dude, when I bought the building, there was a tenant who was there for 32 fucking years.
Jeez.
Bro, I was 35 at that time. She was almost living in that same apartment. And guess what? She passed away a few months ago. Her son says, I now want to rent that apartment.
Nice.
Like, dude, I'm gonna fucking, I don't have to live there.
Yeah. Well, you said war zones. I mean, even then, you find an opportunity in a war zone, owner finance it, then it's no longer a headache.
Exactly. And once again, guys, you don't have to live there. And this is why people are always looking at cash flow. If you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers. Now, I will tell you something, that not all cash flow is the same. As I said, you can create cash flow from single family homes like Randy was talking about, and that's fine. That's not for me. That's for him. That's great. You can create cash flow through apartment complexes, through buying cash flowing assets, which is great. Some people say, you know what, that's still too much headache. Like my mentor Ed, he doesn't want anything to do with that. He wants to be a passive investor. So, hey, man, I actually have some money. Why don't I just invest it with you? Which is another great way for people to avoid paying taxes. Because he just made a big old chunk of money with the sale that he did. So now he's talking about investing some of that money here with us. That's a great way for him not to pay taxes on that. But what he likes to do is he likes to create notes. He likes to do seller financing scenarios where now he's not the one dealing with that particular headache. Hey, I bought this property. I'm going to sell this apartment building to Cashflow Kris through creative financing. He's going to be dealing with the tenants and everything, and I'm just collecting the money on my money, or the money that we structured this deal correctly. Yep. So guys, there's a lot of different ways for you to be able to move into cash flow. And it sounds like right now, I think you said you only have 3 or 4 flips going, and it sounds like you're looking to A, completely automate that, but B, start moving away from that into a much more sustainable way to create cash flow, correct?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, because like you said earlier, I created myself a job, high-paying job, but it's a pain in the ass job, heavily taxed, and I don't want to work that hard. And in a perfect world, I'd have a couple commercial assets, and I would only do flips as I felt like it. The home runs, not the, oh, I think I can make 20,000. Yep. Oh, I'm about to make 50. Okay, I'll do that one. That makes sense. But it's a transactional business, and I can never stop. I can never stop working.
That 50 is profit. It's not working income that has to go back into your machine to feed fucking marketing, to feed contractors, to feed the holding costs, the interest on the lenders, and all these things. Which is, I got to that point where all these things were happening, and I'm like, dude, this is way too much shit. This is way too many moving parts. Yeah, I cannot deal with this. And honestly, as I said, right now we're in apartment complexes. We're buying apartment complexes. We're stabilizing them. We're keeping them for long-term rentals. We're projected that by the end of this year, Cashflow Kris and myself, our company Recession-Proof Investments, will be 100% financially free based on the current units that we have and based on the amount of cash flow that those units are going to bring. That's without adding anything additional to what we have. And now we're looking at, okay, well, how much more do we want to bring? How many more additional units do we want to put on board? Or do we want to focus on what Troy was talking about in creating those notes and creating that passive income where you're literally just a bank?
Yep.
Not all cash flow is the same.
Well, I was thinking while you were saying that is single family, it isn't passive. You can say it's passive. Even if you have property management, that shit ain't passive. You're answering to that property management as they get the shit calls. So
yeah, it's mainly passive if you have everything systemized correctly. I was at a mastermind meeting in Miami about 2 weeks ago, and one of the guys in there had been doing this shit for about 30 years. Mm-hmm. And they said, all right, man, for real, it's like, how passive is multifamily. And he's like, he's like, my best deals that run completely without me having to do anything, I still have to look at the information at least once a month.
Yeah.
That's buildings that are just running perfectly well where he doesn't have to do anything. So yes, you're right. At that point, you are managing the managers. You're not dealing with the bullshit yourself.
Yeah.
So as we've been kind of going down this path, and Cashflow, Kris, and myself, you know, we're very big about knowing what it is that we want and how it is that we want it. And if you don't ask the right questions, you're never going to get the right answers. So we started asking, how can we create cash flow without having to buy an apartment? We're somewhere where I don't get a fucking phone call ever, but the money still shows up in my fucking bank account. Like, how do we do that? And through our transition, we have actually came across different ways that we're doing that, which we're so fucking excited to bring out to you guys here in the very, very near future.
Nice. Hey, we got some Instagram love.
Nice.
Let's talk to Instagram. So we got my sister Sarah in the
Sarah,
house.
how you doing?
We got Bryce.
What's up, brother?
Bryce McKinley saying, freaking Brandon mother loving Richards.
What's up, dude?
Bryce McKinley giving you some love there. We got Danielle saying she's so aggravated. I got off the phone with a cash buyer, said he'll buy something. If it's below 100, he doesn't want it. All right. Could give him something above 100,000. Shit.
Exactly.
Well, that seems strange with the market we're coming into. I've started cherry picking where I won't go above 200,000 anymore, because everything in my market, anyways, 300,000 is a little iffy if it's going to sell. So I would just do away with that buyer. Make sure you got, under 200,000.
We interviewed Tucker. What's the last name?
Merrihew.
And he's a new builder out in Portland area. Thank you. Anyway, he was talking about how he was first of all aiming, and most of the shit was on the higher end, but now because of the shift that he sees in the market, he's kind of aiming more towards middle of the road type houses, because he does feel that there's going to be some type of correction, which is why we feel that multifamily investing, cash flow investing is a recession-proof investment. Because those things, you can buy a nice house and everything. Eventually, people can't afford houses. Guess what? They're going to go to apartments. And where we invest, or we tend to invest in small town, middle America, these people aren't going anywhere. They don't want to do anything other than go to work, get a paycheck, have enough money to pay their bills, buy some beer for the weekend, and then go back on Monday and do this shit all over again. Yep. Now, that may not make sense to you because you're not that way, but trust me, guys, we have seen this shit time and time and time again, that there's a shit ton of people out there. Actually, the majority of this country.
The majority, yeah.
The large majority of this country.
Yeah.
So anyway, Brandon, we are getting here towards the end of the show. We're about to hit an hour and a half mark. It has been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much for coming here and sharing your journey with us. Thank you for sharing your story with us. So why don't you retell people, well, actually, before I do this, by the way, guys, if you guys are hearing us, or you guys are watching us live, make sure that you go download this episode on podcast. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Podbean. Where else can they find us? They can find us on Spotify under Flipping Fridays. That's the name of the show, Flipping Fridays. Make sure that you download the episodes. Make sure that you give us a 5-star review, and make sure that if you have any questions or any comments or anything, make sure that you put that in the comments. Yes, 5-star review. If you guys happen to be listening to us on a podcast, if you guys happen to be watching us on YouTube or anywhere else on the replay, and you want to join us live where you can actually ask questions, just like some of the people were doing before, make sure that you come to facebook.com/AZFlipGuys every single Friday at noon Arizona time. We come here live. So anyway, Brandon, why don't you tell people where they can find you? I know you mentioned your podcast. I believe that I'm scheduled to be in your podcast sometime here soon. But why don't you let people know where they can find you there and other avenues?
Primarily social platforms. My focus is Facebook. I got an Instagram, and message me on there. And
so what's your Instagram handle?
Fearless_properties.
Fearless_properties. There you go, guys. And what is the name of your podcast?
Fearless Pursuit of Freedom. So that can be found on all the podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, soon to be iHeartRadio. I've got a website, the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast. They'll direct you to the whole hosting platform with every episode.
Nice. And we'll make sure that we put that information there on the show notes, and we'll put it there. But anyway, Brandon, it's been an amazing pleasure to have you there. I wish you and your amazing fiance nothing but the best. As I said, I didn't get a chance to interact with you too much over at the Kingdom, but the times that I did, both you and Ashley were just fucking amazing. And what I did see from you guys on stage, you guys were just amazing together. So I'm really happy that you guys are going to be tying the knot and going to be kicking ass and taking names and doing this shit together. So congratulations on that. We'll be in touch here. Like I said, we'll be in touch with Jordan, and I believe we're already scheduled to be on your show. So make sure that you guys check it out, and make sure that you guys check out his podcast. Make sure that you download some of his episodes, check out what he's got to do, especially because his particular podcast is strictly about entrepreneurship. So it's not real estate related like us. It's about entrepreneurship in general. And he's had a lot of different people on there talking about entrepreneurship. Anyway, Brandon, this has been an amazing, amazing time. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy. We appreciate your knowledge. Guys, if you want to reach out to him, you guys can reach out to him here on Facebook. You guys can reach out to him. You guys can go to his podcast and download his podcast, or you guys can find him on Instagram at, say that again, Brandon.
Fearless_properties.
Perfect. Fearless_properties. You can find him there. So anyway, guys, that is Cashflow Kris. Make sure that you're following him on Instagram at Cashflow Kris, Kris with a K. I am Cashflow Creator. Make sure you're following me also. Once again, guys, reminding you that we want to make sure that you flip for cash, but more and more importantly, you want to make sure that you start holding for wealth.
Hold for that wealth.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Man. We'll talk to you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks a lot.